From one Oregon alum to the next, I think this is a huge season for Bo Nix. I'm not going to say make or break season because it's only year 2. But I think that this is a huge season for Bo Nix. You know, expectations not only change, because they should change over time, but they also change by what you do the year before. For instance, I think expectations have and should change for this Denver Broncos team because of the success that a lot of people, including myself, did not foresee last year. Making it to the playoffs. Yes, they ultimately did get boat raced by the Bills, but we're talking about a team that a lot of people didn't even think was going to the playoffs. It kind of sped up how we felt about this Denver Broncos team, and it kind of sped up the expectations. Well, as we sit here today, there's not many teams in the NFL better than the roster that is the Denver Broncos. This team is just overflowing with talent, whether you talk about Jonathan Cooper, whether you talk about J.K. Dobbins, Evan Ingram. Obviously, you have Bo Nix, you have Troy Franklin. Like, you have the reigning defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain. This team is loaded. And I'm just marveling at this. This is a roster, bro. And just like I talked about with Justin Herbert, Cortland Sutton, like, Jesus loves you. Just as I talked about with Justin Herbert, a little bit less with Bo Nix because, he's only in year 2, but the success, and this is honestly with every team, but I'm focusing on those two because they have quarterbacks that either A, has proven to be extremely good for multiple years, or B, which we're talking about, Bo Nix, was incredible his rookie year. The success of this team is going to be on the shoulders of how and if Bo Nix is able to progress. If the Bo Nix that we saw last year can improve. Because I didn't realize it. And shout out to Nick Wright. Shout out to the First Things First episode or the show on FS1. But when he put the numbers, honestly, he put the numbers from college and year 1 next to each other. And as much as it didn't feel like it, Bo Nix essentially had the same season his rookie year as Mac Jones. Jesus loves you. And I'm like, ugh. I'm not saying that that's all automatically going to be the ceiling, but if that's the ceiling, I think a lot of expectations are put on this team, not just because of last year, but because this is one of the best teams in football. You can argue that this is a top 10 roster in football. Now, I know that it took some help, and it took a team like the Bengals to start off incredibly slow, but however it happened, this Broncos team made it to the playoffs. And when you have someone like Marvin Mims, when you have the connection with again Troy Franklin, the Oregon connect with him and Bo Nix, the sky is the limit, bro. Um, but you know what I think one thing that I did think, whoa, words, Jalen. One thing that I believe. Oh, I forgot they have Dre Greenlaw. I'm hoping he can stay healthy, but oh, and they have John Franklin Myers. Yeah, they got a squad, but oh, they also have Hufunga. Yeah, this boy, this roster is crazy. But what I was saying was, one thing that I believe helped Bo Nix last year is the fact that he had so much college experience. I think he played the most college games in like NCAA history, or I think that record was broken by like Dylan Gabriel or something, which is also ironic because both of them played for Oregon. Because he had so much experience, and I know that there's a difference between NCAA and the NFL, but he had so much college experience that it was hard to throw anything he hasn't seen. I'm interested to see, okay, well, now teams kind of know what your tendencies are. Teams have tape on you. Teams know what you like, what you don't like. Teams know what your weaknesses are. I'm very interested to see what it looks like next year or this year. Because one or two things can happen. Either this team lives up to the potential. I don't think it's a Super Bowl caliber team, but I think that it is a good team and should at least have some type of playoff success. Or they're going to underachieve. That's it. And I don't think it's crazy to say that there is a lot of pressure on Bo Nix. And rightfully so. He played himself to that position. He played himself to a point where now we should expect, I'm not going to say greatness, but we should expect a jump, a leap. And then it gets me to Sean Payton. And I do think it's telling. Well, you know what? Let me not go down that road. Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in football. I do think that when you win a Super Bowl, that puts you in a different stratosphere. There's not too many NFL coaches that's walking around right now that has won a Super Bowl as a head coach. So for that, you got to tip your hat to Sean Payton. And I will say that as much grief as I give Sean Payton, as much grief as much grief as I give that whole mindset of I have to win it my way. They were good last year. My question is, can they sustain it? Because I look back on those Sean Payton Saints years, and as great as a coach you can say he was and is, as much success that came his way, most of it was not just off the backs of Drew Brees, who is undoubtedly one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen and will be a first ballot Hall of Fame next year. But a lot of that success stopped once they got to the playoffs. Mind you, as great as Drew Brees was, as great as teams that he had, some incredible defenses that the Saints had. Drew Brees and that team only went to one Super Bowl. Now, yes, they're 1-1, but still. On top of that, and you can say it's bad luck. I mean, it's cool, but the Saints would lose in some spectacular ways. Like some of the ways that they lost, you couldn't even fathom. My thing is, we know Sean Payton should be comfortable in a sense of he wasn't comfortable when he had Russell Wilson because that wasn't his guy. Bo Nix is clearly his guy, and he, in a sense of Sean Payton, had an incredible coaching year last year. So you got your guy. You should be comfortable. This is yet another year where Bo Nix should know the offense, and it should be running smooth. How good can this team be? One, seeing as though it is one, especially defensively. In fact, now that I'm sitting here talking it through, I'm not disrespecting Drew Brees. Please don't hear me say that. But Sean Payton is building this team just like he built the old Saints teams. You know, he had Jonathan Vilma. Like they had incredible defenses. And they had good offenses. Again, you have Cortland Sutton. You have Mims, Franklin, J.K. Dobbins. My hesitation is how, outside of 1 year, how far did those Saints teams really get? But I root for. I do want to see what happens. This is a tougher schedule too. Now I'm thinking about it. Let me go to their schedule. Because their schedule ain't nothing. You got to go up against the Chargers. Well, obviously, you got to go up against the Bengals, the Eagles, Texans, Commanders, Green Bay. Tough. And I see what the league is doing. They did it to the extreme with the NFC East, and we'll talk about it more there. But I see what the league is doing. They don't want a lot of. One of the biggest cries last year was with the Cincinnati Bengals and the fact of, because the Chiefs had the season essentially wrapped up, they know that they were going to the playoffs. They were able to rest all of their starters the last game of the season. And that is actually why the the Broncos was able to make the playoffs, because the Broncos beat the Chiefs. And the Cincinnati Bengals wasn't able to make it. Well, what they're doing, and they did this to the extreme again with the NFC East, but what they're doing is they're putting they're backloading the season with all the divisional games. Not all, but if you look from week 11 to from week 10 to week 17, you have all of your divisional games. You got you're going against the Chiefs, going against the Raiders. You have the bye week in week 12. Then you go against the Raiders again in week 14. You go against the Chiefs in week 17. And week 18, you have the Chargers. So what they're essentially trying to do is they're trying to make these last games important so you don't have teams sitting out. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll see. And again, we'll see what happens with this Chargers team. I mean, not Chargers, with this Broncos team. But they do have one of the best, I'll say. They do have one of the best rosters in football. That is true.
Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.